Okay, so we are ready to get started. As people join, we will answer the questions. So please type in your questions here. Let me get started with the first one. So we have Dr. Puneet Reddy from our panel today with me. And as most of you know, he is about to graduate this year. He had a 260 plus in both steps. So he has a very good idea of the USMLE exams and some of the related aspects. So, Praneeth, welcome. And the first question to you, will the step 2 CS attempt be reported on the transcripts?
Right. Hello, Pavan. Hello, everyone. So, yes, to answer the question, yes, the USMLE has recently confirmed that they are going to report a step 2 CS attempt in the USMLE transcripts. And they also mentioned that they will add a statement in the transcript. And this statement will be there whether or not you have an attempt in the step 2 CS. It will be there on all the transcripts. And that statement basically explains the situation around step 2 CS and its cancellation, and because of which people with an attempt may not have had a chance to take the exam again.
Okay. And to our audience, you can type in the questions. You can start typing in. We are just answering the questions that we have received earlier. So if you have any questions, our team will be glad to answer. So please type in. The second question I received, since CS is cancelled and the pathway applications are currently closed, how will I be able to take step 3? Now, step 3 is becoming very important, and a lot of IMGs want to get done with step 3, rightly so. But how can they take step 3 if the CS is cancelled?
Right. So if you are already SFMG certified by now, then you should be all set to register for the step 3 exam on the FSMB website. But if you are not SFMG certified by now, then the USMLE has also recently announced requirements to be eligible to take the step 3. For IMGs, you need to be done with your step 1, CK, and OET, and be verified by or accepted into one of the 6 pathways, apart from having a medical degree and also having your credentials verified. But basically, the online applications for the 2021 applications have been already closed, and for the 2022, the pathway applications have not yet are not yet open, and they are going to open up in April for pathway 1 to pathway 5, and for pathway 6, they are going to open up in July. You can look on the USMLESarthi YouTube channel. We have covered these in detail, the pathways. But yeah, you can start your preparation now and be prepared to take the exam in May or June at the earliest. So that should be your plan.
Okay, thank you. And I will post the links to the pathway exams in a while. So I'll
Mhm.
do that. Now for the big question, many students have asked us that the newer NBMEs are being released, older NBMEs are being retired. Is that true? And should I just postpone my exams for the new NBMEs?
Yes. So yes, the NBME has also confirmed this, and beginning March 24th, 2021, new NBMEs, that is NBME from 25 to 30 for step 1, will be released, and old NBMEs, that is 18 and 20 to 24, will be retired. That is, you will not be able to take them anymore. So while previously the NBMEs used to only say if the answer that you have chosen is correct or not, now the newer NBMEs will also have explanation for the answer choices, like why that particular thing is the correct answer and why the others are not. This is a great change because it used to take up a lot of time to review the NBMEs previously, and you may not even find the answer to some questions, the explanation to some of the questions. But now the review will be more faster and efficient. So it's a great change. And then, so there was a change in the step 1 content, that is the distribution of marks last year, and the newer NBMEs will have more emphasis or focus on the communication skills and interpersonal skills component. And so people who take the newer NBMEs will have a better idea on what they can expect on the exam day, with regard, especially with regard to these ethics, communication skills, interpersonal skills part of the exam. And now coming to the question that is about postponing the exam or not. So This is a change that is not unusual. So it happens almost every 2 years. Older NBMEs are retired and newer NBMEs are added. So this is to keep up with the changes in the exam content as well. So the updated NBMEs will now have um, uh, also the concepts that are covered in the previous NBMEs, plus the new concepts that the old NBMEs, don't have. So if you are almost all set to take the exam, and it's better and it is worth to wait until March 30th or so, so that you can complete all the few of the newer NBMEs, so that you will have a better idea and you can read in and around these concepts. And also what we usually notice is questions sometimes are directly from these NBMEs. It will help you. And for someone who is planning to take the exam now, and cannot wait until March 30th, then I would say don't be afraid, you're not losing out on anything. This just that you should be prepared with the ethics concepts in UWorld, Amboss, and the basic ethic concepts that are given in first aid. And people who are taking these older NBMEs are doing well in the exam currently. And this is unexpected to change drastically after March 24th. So you should still be good to go. Don't be afraid if you are not able to take these new ones by some reason. And for those who are planning the exam towards in April or May, then I would say hold off on taking the older NBMEs, because the concepts in these will anyway be covered to some extent in the newer ones. And the newer ones are most updated, so hold off on doing them now. And whenever they are released, do it after March, and sit for the exam. So that's the best thing for you.
Very good. Thank you. And I am seeing other questions come in. So let me take one and then we'll talk about the others. So Jayesh Joshi is asking, is this compulsory to take step three for residency? If I give step three, please inform me about the limit. So Jayesh, it is not required, but increasingly step three is becoming important for IMGs. It helps you get more interviews, number one. Obviously, from a visa perspective, if you are looking for H1B, you will need to take step three, I think in by January, so that you can get that visa. And more importantly, if you have, say, some red flags, gaps, lower scores, less USC, then step three is becoming increasingly important. It will continue to go up in the importance. So if you have time, you should take it. In terms of the planning, ideally, of course, if you are taking step three and you can get the results by September 15th, which will be the next, the day one for applications in the 2022 season, it'll be good for you. Otherwise, of course, try to take it as soon as you can. Next question from Lokesh. I will give it to you, Praneeth.
Mhm.
Should I incorporate Anki in my step one preparation? I have heard it is not very useful since it is merely focused on memorization.
Yes, so that's the basic use of Anki. It depends on your reading style. So if you're someone who can watch the videos, read the book, and then do it repeatedly and get the concepts or stick the concepts in your brain, then that is fine for you. But if you're not someone, like if you don't like that particular style of reading, then you can shift to Anki. There are already pre-made decks. There are many pre-made decks like Zanki, Anking, Cheesy Dorian, and all these. So you can try and see what you like, and you can follow that. But the downside with Anki is you need to do it very early. You need to start it very early in your preparation. If you are in the middle or towards the end of your preparation, then I would say it is not very useful and worth doing Anki.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Now, the other question I am reading is about remote research.
Mhm.
So let me read this. Uh, Then it comes from Vyapi. Will remote research be acceptable? If yes, then will remote research paper LOR be considered as a replacement of the one of the USCE LORs? So Vyapi, try to understand that the clinical experience or the on-site or even tele rotations, that is different from research. Both of them are important. Obviously, hands-on or USCE is more important. So the hierarchy goes something like scores, your USCE, and then of course research and step three and other things become important. Obviously, one way to get research is on site at a university, full time and on visa J1 or whatever. So full time research associate, but then there are other options like remote research also. So remote research also works. Many of our students have done it. We actually have a course. The next batch will start uh, on 29th of March, and I've just posted the link. It is not a replacement for USCE, but it will help you build your profile. So don't think of these as one or the other. Remote research, like our research, will lead to publications also in PubMed Journal Index, but it should not be considered a replacement. So let me go to the next question. This comes from Mini Mini. Will the CS failing score 7 years back be reported in transcript? I am not sure because there is a limit of the 7 year. Praneeth, are you aware if the 7 year prior attempts are going to be reported for, especially for CS?
So they become in, I mean, the exam becomes invalid, but I think the attempts are still reported even when you start over the process all over again. So for
Okay.
step one CK, they are. So for CS also, it should be.
Yeah, and you can check with ECFMG, and they will. I think they'll be able to explain it to you. Then the other question comes from Mini Mini. How much is the real USMLE exam compared to UWorld? So I think what the user wants to know is UWorld and comparison to the actual exam. I guess she answer is about or question is about step one or maybe even CK.
Right. So basically, even I mean, for both step one and CK, the real exam is more closer to UWorld than the NBMEs or UWSA assessments. So you get a feeling, the same feeling that like you get when you're solving UWorld for the first time. And basically, the concepts that are asked in the exam are covered in UWorld, but they are of course asked in a different way. But what I'm trying to say is the difficulty of the exam, the question length, and the options and the way they are trying to twist the question will match UWorld than even the assessments.
Okay. And I think the related question is how should I review UWorld? That we get very often.
Right. Yes, we will talk about that as well. But yeah, so before jumping on to that, I also want to tell something about the newer NBMEs that we missed before. So
Okay.
one big confusion that people have around this is the predictiveness. So people always use these assessments to see how predictive they are of the real exam and thing. But when the NBMEs are very new, we don't have much experience with them, so we cannot say how predictive they are. So the same thing, like when the NBMEs 20 to 24 were released newly, then people were getting low 220s and around that score, but they were still able to score 240 plus on the real exam. So the confusion will again come in when these new NBMEs are going to come in March now. So I would say use the UWSA 2 for to know the predictiveness or preparedness for the exam. And if you're scoring around the 230s, then in these new assessments, then you should still be good to go for the exam. Most importantly, you should use them to know where you're doing mistakes, what concepts are being asked, and how you need to improve yourself on that. You can watch a video that we did on the same to know how to use the assessments. I think Pawan will be posting the link in the
Yeah, I
comments.
just posted the link. Yep.
Right. So yeah, that's about the predictiveness of the exam. And now jumping on to the other question, that is reviewing UWorld. So yes, I think the most important or core resource for step one or even CK is UWorld. So here are some tips, how to on reviewing UWorld. Number one is always do a 40 question complete block and then start reviewing questions. That is basically do a time mode 40 question block, and not a tutorial mode where you do a question, review it, then next go to other question, then review it. That's not how the exam is, and for the same reason, that's not how you should train yourself. Number two is, I would say, When you're solving UWorld, you should be able to, when you're solving the question, actually, you should be able to tell yourself not only why that is the correct answer, but also tell yourself quickly why the other options are wrong. Just quickly give a fast explanation and then mark your answer. That way, you will be sure not to do silly mistakes, and that will definitely help you on the exam day. So now, when you're reviewing the UWorld, you should be focusing on those differentiating points. So what is that differentiating point between the option choices over there? So that is where your focus should be there, and that is what you should annotate onto your first aid. And next about, so at the end of the review, if you are able to tell yourself a one line explanation on why that is the correct answer for the question, and when the other options could be the answer for the same question, then your review is complete and successful. You can move on to the next question, so the purpose is solved. So that is what you should be able to narrow it down to. Give yourself a one line explanation on why that is a correct answer and when the other option choices can be the correct answer.
Okay.
And also the UWorld tables are super important. Definitely make a note of them and save them when you're reviewing UWorld.
Okay. Thank you. Let me take the next question, or maybe you know the answer.
Mhm.
How long is the OET score valid for? So, you've taken OET, right? So, how long is the
Right.
score valid for? At least I'm assuming till they come up with a CS substitute, it should be valid, correct?
Yeah. So yeah, that is definitely it is valid. I mean, it is going to be accepted by ECFMG until it comes up with another clinical skill exams. But I think the question is about how long in general it is valid. Like TOEFL is valid for 2 years,
Oh,
like
I
that.
see.
So even OET is valid for 2 years. The ECFMG previously said you can start taking OET, or if you have taken OET and have a passing score within the past 2 years, then submit that score. So yeah, according for ECFMG, the scores up to 2 years are valid. So if you have taken OET in the last 2 years, even you can apply with that score.
Okay. Okay, next question comes from Yukti Karki. Should I do Amboss instead of UWorld?
Right. So it depends on what phase of preparation you are. Definitely, Amboss instead of UWorld is not right, because UWorld is the most important, or the one that is closest to the exam out there, the resource that is closest to the exam out there. So for the core preparation, you should always be using UWorld. But I covered it in one of the previous videos, and I can tell you how I used UWorld, first aid, and Amboss. So first, I did all these three question banks. I did first aid partly when I was very new. I just started preparation, so I used it to orient myself to the UWorld or USMLE style of questions. And UWorld, I use it as a core resource, and that's how you should be using it. And Amboss, I used it towards the end of the preparation when I was already, I did take a look at all the UWorld question. I was used to them. So just to have a feel of new questions, to keep my brain working towards the end of the exam, for that exposure to new questions is why I used Amboss towards the end. So I think that would be the best strategy. But yeah, definitely it's not a replacement of UWorld.
Okay. Uh, and I think I can take the next question from Yukti itself. CS is cancelled. Do we get an apply visa for step three? So, step three, of course, you will be eligible after your ECFMG certified. And this certification now depends on OET. So, based on the OET certification, you should be able to get a date for step three, or at least the visa for step three. Next question comes around MPH course. So, doing MPH or biomedical PhD in US, is it useful for matching? So that's a good question. Let me take this. MPH, in a full-time MPH in a US university, is very, very helpful, especially if it is from a top university. There you can look at the rankings, but from Harvard, from Hopkins, and all, and it serves several purposes. One, of course, is if gives you field projects. So if it gives you projects where you interact with the physicians or you do data analysis on the clinical side, that helps. It can also help you develop a network, and obviously US masters, if you have a good GPA, you will get good LOR. So all that is very useful. But remember that MPH you have to compare it with other factors. If you're a recent graduate with good scores, you don't need MPH. You should just apply based on electives, based on your scores, those kind of things. Second, MPH is more useful for, say, family medicine. It's public health, preventive care, so on and so forth, as opposed to you applying to, say, a surgical specialty and all. It is not a bad degree. Depending on the profile, you can always consider it. But the PhD is a tricky thing. PhD means at least 4 to 5 years you are away from the clinical side. It's mostly bench research. It is very important and useful for a pathology residency, but not so much for other clinical residencies. Okay, let me take the other question. In fact, we've done this video. Uh, Bhojdev Singh is asking what is the time required for step one preparation. So,
Yeah,
Praneeth, do you want to take this?
right.
I think I'll put
So
the link for the video. Yep. Sorry,
we
go
have
ahead.
covered it previously, but yeah. So the usual time for IMGs to prepare for step one is anywhere between 7 to 9 months, and it varies with how strong your foundations in basic science exam is. But yeah, that's the average time that it takes, 7 to 9 months, and you usually dedicate around 1 to 2 months for the initial preparation, and then 2 to 4 months for the core preparation, that is during the first pass of UWorld and first aid, and then 1.5 to 2 months for the revision phase and finishing the assessments.
Yeah. So similar question is coming around first aid. How long should I take to do first aid? And I think we have covered it in the videos, but if you just want to answer quickly.
Right, sure. So the time you should dedicate for first aid is, it depends again on the phase of preparation. So first, I would say just give a very quick glance at first aid just to know what is in first aid, like what topics are covered and at how much depth are they covered. It is not to memorize first aid, just to know what is in first aid, so that when you jump on to do UWorld, you will know what is already covered, what else you should annotate, and if it is already there and if you are annotating it again, then it's a waste of time. So that is where it will help you. And then when you are in the core preparation doing UWorld, that is when you will do it in detail. That is, you have everything annotated from your UWorld and boards and beyond into first aid. So this is where you will start memorizing it detail. So this is where you will spend anywhere between around 1.5 month memorizing all the first aid to two
Yeah.
months Yeah.
Let me also put all the resources of step one from our website here so that the audience can look at it. Next question. I don't know if it is questions, but Jayesh is saying LORs and research are more important than step three. LORs, of course, are very important. You have to have customized, personalized, waived LORs from US physicians in most cases. That are obviously more important. Step three and research, it depends on the profile. Take both of them separately. Think both of them are important. And if you need help, we do have profile reviews. It depends on the individuals. We can review your profile and tell you which one is more important. So go to our website. On the homepage itself, you will see option to set up a profile review. Then next question, is the match process becoming harder for IMGs? Let me take this. So the answer is no. Straightforward answer is no. If you look at the IMG match rate, both for visa requiring and for non-visa requiring people who have green card, the match rate is going up. It is now close to 60 to 63%. It is not becoming difficult. It is actually becoming easier. We have been doing it for 6 years. From 50% to 63%. And then now with step one cancellation or step one pass fail, CS cancellation, more and more IMGs may find it easier without even coming to US to at least do these exams and apply. So I don't think it is becoming difficult. It is actually becoming easier. Uh, then the next question is from Atul. If step one given before January 2022 if I give it before Jan of next year. Will step one scores make any difference for 23 matching? As there will be applicants with pass fail. So let me take this. Uh, if you take and this pass fail date has still not been decided. The step one pass fail whenever they do it. But if you take it this year by December, your 3-digit score will be reported. It could make a difference. So, for example, if you get high scores like Praneeth, 260 plus, it'll always be of an advantage. So remember, after step one goes pass fail, CK scores, step three scores, these kind of things will become important. And if you have a step one score which is high, definitely it'll be more important. Ria is asking, how many months before should you plan about electives or hands-on? So good question, Ria. The challenge here now is with the COVID, many universities are still not opening up for the electives. Uh, Pre-COVID, I would have said, 6 months, 7 months before you are planning to go plan for it, start writing to them. Now, of course, we don't know. Some universities may open up. Affiliated clinics are open up, and you can try those. In fact, we have a lot of affiliated clinics. They are affiliated with residency programs, so you and get to do rotations in outpatient settings, uh, and with LORs on US physicians, obviously letterhead and the program letterhead. So you can check it out. In general, 6 to 7 months if the universities are open. Let me give the next question to you, Praneeth. I find it difficult to annotate everything from UWorld on FA. It takes me more time, so I'm making notes from UWorld. Is that okay?
Sorry, Pawan, I didn't get it. So,
So the question is, I find it difficult to annotate everything from UWorld on FA. It is taking a lot of time, so I'm just making notes from UWorld.
okay. So, the challenge or the problem with this particular approach is at the end, towards the end of in whatever you're preparing throughout your preparation phase, if you don't revise it towards the end, it is not going to be very fruitful or useful to you. So the problem with this particular approach is you will have to revise separately from first aid, and then again you will have to revise all of the notes that you're adding to UWorld. If you have everything at one place, it is very useful. You can do it at one go, and it will be very helpful towards the end of the preparation phase. I think it is worth to spend some time to screen out things which are not important, or those minute details, or those things that are already on first aid. You can screen out all those things and add only, as I mentioned before, write only the differentiating line or differentiating points between the answer choices. And other thing is, other useful tip is, if you feel like you need to write down everything, all the explanation that is on UWorld for a particular question, then you can simply take a note of the question ID on first aid. So write QID and the question, the ID of that particular question near the topic in first aid. So that way, when you're revising that particular topic on first aid, you will see that QID, and then you can quickly type that on UWorld. So you can read that explanation, you can see how the question presents on that particular topic. So yeah, you can do that, but I think it's worth to have everything at one place.
Okay. Pablo is asking, how do I get research as an IMG in the US? So we are about to finish another video on how to get research positions. There are a few others I've done. So the best, of course, is to look for faculty where in various institutes, especially the top institutes, write to them and ask for research positions. That is the best. However, with COVID, many universities are on a pause. Uh, some are starting, but they're still on a pause to hire, especially if you're outside US, and the visa also, J visa, takes about 3 months. So that's a challenge, at least for the next few months. You can do individual self-directed research. And like I mentioned, we also help you with research courses and publications that I've just posted the link. That would be one option. if you want to consider. Pawan Sharma is asking, can I work outside US with a USMLE license? I think he means certification without completing residency. I don't know the answer to that. It varies with the country, I guess. USMLE scores, where are they valid? I don't know outside US.
So I think Dubai is one place where you can apply with ECFMG certification, but then again there are very limited spots over there, and it is not very easy.
Okay. Komal is asking, I have come across a news that it is going to be easier for IMG gynae applicants to get admission in the US programs OBGYN with clearance of USMLE by just giving one exam. I don't know what this means. The probably what you're hearing is the step one is pass fail, so that has to be passed. CK has to be done. I don't know if there is any news that only one exam will lead you to certification and then you can apply to OBGYN residency. We haven't heard that. Obviously, for radiology, there is an alternate pathway, but even for that, you have to be ECFMG certified. So, no, I don't know. Yukti Karki is asking, is it a good idea to give step one exam as soon as the pool changes?
Right. So this is also a very common question that people have. So pool change occurs every year, and whenever there is a pool change, there is a delay in score reporting, and the announcements are always on the website, the USMLE website. So people are afraid that whenever there is a pool change, new questions are added, so they are going to be tough, and you will get a lower score. But no, that is not true. I have seen people who took exam around the pool change and definitely scored better in the exam, and not a single person I know has told me that he scored low just because of the pool change or the questions were very tough or thing like that. So the USMLE is a very standardized exam. It has a very good process in place. So it is unlikely that you're going to score low if you take the exam around pool change. The
Hmm.
only thing that you need to keep in mind is that your score report will be delayed.
Yeah. Then I'll take, I guess, the next question, Yukti, is now that there is no CS, how do we get LORs? So I think the question is not clear. There is no CS, but LORs you get from research, you get from US clinical experience. So CS has nothing to do with LOR. CS was an exam, pass fail. It does not give you an LOR. LOR you get from US clinical experience, doing electives, hands-on, or other things like research. Uh, How much credibility do medical exchange programs for 1 month to other countries like France have? So, uh, uh, this comes from Bhojdev saying. So, if you are able to go to another country, maybe from your home country, if your home country is India for 1 month, and as a medical exchange student, I think definitely will help in your profile. This would be a good addition. So, go for it. Uh, Deepika is asking, can I score 220? I'm assuming she says in step one, in just 2.5 months.
Right. So it is tough to say without knowing the profile, the basic, I mean, how strong you are at your basic science exams, subjects. But yes, it is possible to finish or do decent, have a decent score in around 3 months even. The thing is, you should be able, it is not about the time, but it is about how fast you can cover UWorld. If you are able to finish 1.5 rounds of UWorld, then you should be able to get that score. But always there are NBME assessments, there are UWSA assessments that will tell you how much, or plus or minus 10 of how much you are going to score on the real exam. So
Yeah.
do take an assessment, and then you will know where you will fall.
Okay. Another question: how many more number of interviews can we get with research? So it's hard to say without knowing your profile. Interviews, number of interviews are a function, obviously, of your score, USCE, year of graduation, and we have done so many videos around it. Research always helps. Some people get 4 or 5, depends on the quality of research, depends on the publication, and many things. It is not going to harm you. It will only increase your chances to match. Hard to say as a quantifiable number. Then Dr. Rupa Singhe is asking, could you please tell me how to find mentor for step one, and regarding timetable for 3 months and study partner? So I'll just post a link to our website where we have this option, and there is obviously also a group, step one group that we run, that you can join. It's a free Telegram group, and you can look for other options there. Then I'll take the next question from Atul Dave. Will all tele rotations LOR be okay, or on site rotation is a must? How many on site rotations in total? So, Atul, last year tele rotations were okay. There is still a lot of travel restrictions, and programs understand. So, if you are not able to do on site rotation, they will be okay till, I guess, the COVID settles down. If COVIDs improve, if the travel restrictions are lifted, yes, try to do on-site rotation. That will be useful, more useful. There are, of course, as you can see on our website, there are some tele rotations which also give you the patient interaction. You actually interact with the patient, so they try to give you similar experience to on-site. But yes, if you can do on-site, do that. Otherwise, tele is fine. Uh, and most of our providers don't write that you did tele rotation, so it doesn't come up on the LOR. How many in total? Definitely, minimum 3 months of USCE will help. If you can do more, that is fine. Next question comes from Rani Chaudhary. If we complete MS General Surgery in India, is it useful to get into residency? So, good question, Rani. Home country residency does absolutely help. I'm not sure whether it'll help you directly in general surgery, because it will depend also on your scores and other profile. But in general, the home country residency does help if you have it, especially in clinical specialties like internal medicine and others. So it's a good addition if you already have it. Bhojdev is asking, how much credibility do research publications in India have for USMLE? Something is better than nothing, right? And if you have publications in India, that is a good thing. But compared to someone who has US publications, it may not be that useful. Always go for PubMed journal indexed publications. And now, of course, like we have started some courses, and there are all these options where you can, even in your medical school, you can do research with us, get it published, and improve your profile. But if you've already done research in India, that's a good thing. Don't think that it will be useless. Is there any hope for old graduates with current changes in USMLE? Daksh is asking. Absolutely. We have had 15-year YOG match. We have had 10-year YOG match. So old year of graduation by itself, yes, there is a hurdle, but there are other things. There is your score, there is your USCE, there your home country experience. All of that helps. It is not just by the YOG that you are kind of not able to match. There are other things, and again, like I said, we do this all the time. You can set up time with us if you are ready to match. Our classes are starting on the 29th of this month, after the match week, which is tomorrow. Uh, then couple of other questions. I think I will first give one to you, Praneeth. Should I focus less on step one exam, because now the scoring system will change to pass fail, even though I'm planning to give step one within a few months?
Okay, so if you are already preparing for the step one, then I would say do not just delay the exam, because you want to take it after January 2022. Because as Pawan mentioned, they only said that this change will not occur before Jan 2022. They didn't still give us a date when it is going to happen. So just go ahead with the preparation and try to do the best in your exams, USMLE step exams or something that if you do a mistake, you cannot change. So give your best in the exam, take the exam. If possible, do take it before December. And if you are able to score high, 250 plus or something, then it'll definitely help you. So I don't think you should be focusing less on the exam.
Okay. Next question, I can take this from Atul. Can we apply with step one CK and CK scores only with no OET? So Atul, we did a video a week or so ago for next season. If you cannot do OET by September 15, but you have your step one and CK scores, go ahead and apply. Even last season, students had this issue. You should be fine. Just don't stop because you don't have OET. Komal is asking, are there problems for jobs as a pathologist in comparison to internal medicine? Uh, should an IMG apply for pathology or IM? So application, of course, depends on your interest, your scores, your profile. Uh, job, don't look at just the job. You are going to do this for the rest of your life. Uh, yes, pathology waiver jobs are harder to find, just because the field is for waivers. You have to go in rural areas and there are not enough labs in the rural areas, but still every year a lot of our students match in pathology. They don't have to come back, they get the waiver. In general, the waiver jobs may be slightly harder, but that doesn't mean you only look at the job market. You should look at your interest, you should look at the scores and other things in your profile. Deepika is asking, I want to apply for psychiatry. Can you share what is the most important factor? Again, for psychiatry, step three is becoming increasingly important. A lot more AMGs are going into psychiatry, so it's getting harder. So step three for IMGs is important. Research, relevant research is important if you can have it. Score wise, it is slightly lower than IM. We have other videos on our website, what it takes to get into psychiatry, so you can look at that. But this is one where step three is important, and of course relevant research will be very, very important. uh, so we have already answered one question that Subramaniam has asked. If I take step one this year and get the score, will it stay as a score? Yes. If you take step one this year, it will stay as a score. It will not convert to pass fail. So if you are on track to get 240, 250, 260, good idea to get it done. Then uh, another question from Develop Miracle. I took step one and will take OET on Saturday. Would like to know what's the maximum date should I be finished with CK before 2022 match. Uh, do you remember the reporting past timeline for CK, Puneet?
Yeah, so it's 3 weeks.
3 weeks. So, just add some buffer. If you take, I think, first week August, by September 15th, you'll still be fine. So that should be the target.
Yeah, but I think you should also keep in mind that it takes from 5 days to 2 weeks for your ECFMG certification after that. And also, if your credentials are verified or not, that is going to take around 2 to 4 weeks. And also, the pathway verification takes time. So, yeah, you should keep in mind around 2 months um, on the whole, depending upon if you have the credentials verified or not.
Okay. Uh, Other question, if you have a CS attempt, is it a major red flag? So any attempt is a red flag. Unfortunately, now you cannot take CS, but it doesn't mean it cannot be overcome. This is from Deepika. There are other things. If you obviously, your scores will matter. US clinical experience, research, home country experience. So there are ways and means to kind of overcome this. But yes, in itself, CS attempt, unfortunately, like any other exam attempt, is a flag. It can be overcome though. Uh, Bhojdev is asking visa process for clinical experience. So if you are looking for USCE, our sites can give you letter which you can show to the consulate that you have been accepted in the rotations program. If you get a research opportunity at a university, then of course you work with them for the J1 visa. It should be fine. Last question as we are coming to the end. Biren is asking, I'm on first round of Second step, UWorld complete 60% plus working from here. How can I proceed at what time frame? First round of second step, UWorld. So I think he's talking about, is he talking about CK? I don't know if second step.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So if you are talking about step 2 CK and you mean you have done 60% of the first round, then I would say all that is required for step 2 CK is UWorld. That is the most important thing. And it's better and very important that you do 2 rounds of UWorld. So get done with this rest 40%, and it will take half the time that you took for first round for the second round. So plan it in that way, and you will need an additional month, that is 4 weeks for the assessments and the CMS forms. Then you'll be good to go for the exam.
Okay. Okay. So that was all. Let me post all the links here one final time, and then we can kind of wrap it up. Let me see if there is any other question that I can see. Uh, I think Rupa Singh is asking, best option is doing MPH course or clinical research master's degree. Like I said, it depends. There is no one answer. It will depend on your profile. Last question, how hard is to get pediatrics compared to IM? Are there additional requirements? And the answer is, from a scores perspective, pediatrics is easier, I should say. But again, it depends on your profile. It depends on a lot of other factors. So again, we have other videos, or you can get in touch with us, and we will, we can review your profile also. So that was all that I had. Thank you very much for joining us today. Let me, like I said, let me get you some URLs which will be helpful for you. If there are other questions, we do have continuous these live sessions. If you go to our website, there is a Facebook group that we run, and then of course there is a Telegram group that we also run. You should be fine with that. How hard is it to match into OBGYN for an IMG? It is not easy. Uh, Home country experience or home country residency helps, high scores help, US research will help in OBGYN. Uh, Haim Patel is asking for research with pay. Does home country residency help? Oh, so if you're looking for research opportunities in US, will home country residency help? Yeah, home country residency helps in a lot of things, but that does not mean if you don't have home country residency, you cannot get research positions here. Unfortunately, many are still closed, but you should be able to get as they open up the post-COVID hiring. So that was all that we had. Thank you very much, everyone. Good luck, and do subscribe to this channel, as we'll do a lot of YouTube webinars. So thank you and good luck. Thank you, Praneeth.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks.